This video is to show you how to operate the jar test setup for doing chemical precipitation. So you have 5 beakers. The first thing you want to do is set up the beaker in a way that this paddle is right in the middle of the container. So I'm going to take it here. If you see it, it's approximately middle. It's not hitting on any of the edges. And you want to set up all the 5 beakers in the same way. The paddles are centered now, and you're going to fill 1 liter water solution. So you have the marking 1 liter. You can use 1 liter graduated flask or directly fill it up to this line. Before you fill your sample, make sure you rinse it out. Once you fill your sample, which is the copper solution, come back here, turn on the machine, and the program for the machine will load up. And you can also see lights at the bottom. So the switch for the light is right here. You may want to keep the light on. That will help you to see the precipitate better. So operating it, you want to run continuous mode. So I would press 1 and you have to enter the speed. The first few minutes you're going to run it at high speed. Whatever the instruction says, use the speed. Now I'm going to show you how to set to 100 RPM, 100, enter and start. You can see the paddles are rotating. Now when I want to change the speed, I'm going to go press stop and I'm going to do 25 now. 25, press enter and then press start. So now the paddles are mixing at a slow speed. Now at the end of the slow mixing, you want to stop and you're going to allow the sample to sit without any mixing for about 30 minutes. At the end of jar test, before we can measure the dissolved copper, we have to measure the pH in each of the beakers. So this is a probe to measure pH, and this is the pH meter right here. Turn on the pH meter. Take the probe, put it in the beaker, and make sure you don't disturb the settled precipitate. If possible, keep it above the settled precipitate within the clear supernatant, but go deep enough so that this part is completely immersed in water. So if this is, for example, my sample, I'm going to put it in and then come back here, press read. It's going to display the pH value. It's going to say stabilizing for a few minutes, and once it stops stabilizing, you can note down the pH. So this is the pH for that sample I had there. You finished your jar test part of the chemical precipitation, and in this beakers, you stop the paddle, allow it to settle for 30 minutes, and we are assuming at this point we have a precipitate at the bottom, a clear supernatant or clear liquid at the top. Now at this point, I want you to take 10 milliliters. Now use the pipette, rub it inside, make sure you don't disturb the precipitate, and gently draw 10 ml of the sample. Now to use the pipette, this is the pipette and it has a ball at the top. Now the pipette ball has 3 points, S, E and A. Now if you press S, it's going to pull in the liquid. If you press E, it will release the liquid that is in the pipette. Now while you press S and draw the liquid, this ball will get filled up with air. When it fills up with air, you want to press A and squeeze the ball to release all the air. Now I'm going to show how I'm drawing liquid. So this is just water. Tip goes below the water. and I'm pressing yes, and you can see water is filling up. Now it's about 10 milliliters. Now I want you to take 10 milliliters from the beaker and add it to a plastic beaker. So I'm pressing E now, which will release the liquid. You will see a tiny drop at the bottom. That is fine, don't worry about that. Now I have 90 milliliters of distilled water measured right in here. I'm going to pour in this one. So essentially you took 10 ml from the beaker, added 90 ml of distilled water, diluted your sample. So this is our setup for filtration. Now we have the 100 ml sample, which is 90 ml distilled water, 10 ml from the jar test beaker. We are going to use this setup to filter the 100 ml sample. So to begin with, take this top part and put it in. So all you have to do is push it inside. Now this is your filter paper, glass microfiber filter. Use this forceps and take one paper. I'm going to take one, okay, and put it right on the black part. Try not to touch the paper. Now this one has a magnetic component. Once you put it here, it automatically gets attached. Now you can turn on the pump. There is the on-off switch right here. I'm going to turn it on. You probably can hear the pump noise now. Add your sample along the sides. Try not to pour right in the middle. That will kind of break the filter paper. So gently pour your sample along the sides. That way the sample kind of rolls on the filter paper, not hitting it directly. Alright, so now 100 ml sample, we filtered it by applying vacuum. It pulled in all the liquid in here. I'm going to turn it off. Once this is done, take this part out. I just took this part out. We don't need the filter paper. For this part, we only need the filtered liquid. So you can take this off. Have a clean plastic beaker. Pour this in. So this is the filtered sample. We have the filtered 100 ml sample right here, and we're going to measure the dissolved copper in it. This is the AccuVac that we use for measuring copper. You can see it's filled with reagent inside, and the container is under vacuum. What you have to do is take this inside. This is made of glass. The tip breaks easily. You want to keep your finger right here. Take it all the way to the bottom of the liquid. Keep it there and gently snap it. If you gently snap it, the top breaks, and even after you break it, keep it inside the liquid layer, and you have to collect enough liquid to fill all the way to the top. If it happens that you did not fill all the way to the top, you had sample only halfway or 3/4, set this aside, take a new one and do it. In order for you to effectively measure copper in the dissolved solution, you have to fill it all the way to the neck of the sample. I'm not going to waste one here, but once you break it, mix it, let it sit for 5 minutes, and this is the instrument you're going to use to measure copper. There's a on-off switch at the back of this instrument. You have to press this one. Once you press, the software program loads to measure. It takes a minute or two. So the program checks all the system conditions before we can start measurement. You want to turn this on about 10 minutes before you're ready to measure copper. It works based on a lamp. The lamp needs to warm up. It says next service is due. Don't worry about it. Press OK. Go to stored programs. It will come up with the list of stored programs. We are looking for copper, program number 140, copper bison AV. The maximum concentration you can measure is only 5 milligrams per liter. That's part of the reason why we diluted the sample. Go ahead, press start. You can see the display. It says milligrams per liter of copper. You have to zero the instrument before you can read your sample. So to zero the instrument, use the same AccuVac. Use a beaker with just distilled water. Fill the AccuVac all the way to the top. Mix it, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then open this compartment right here. Now it's closed with a light shield. You want to open the light shield, take it out. There is an adapter for this one, which has a marking C on it. Place the adapter inside. For this one, you can close it. Once you break this to collect your sample, you'll be able to close it. But even if you can't close it, that's fine. You can put it in, press 0. The instrument will automatically zero the sample or the distilled water sample. Once you press 0, the read button right here will become active. Once it becomes read, all you have to do is put in your AccuVac, press read. You will get copper concentration in milligrams per liter.